Chuck Schumer's political standing hits historic low as voters sour on Washington leadership. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is ending the year in a deeply uncomfortable position, not merely as a partisan lightning rod, but as one of the least popular political leaders in the United States, according to newly released national polling. A recent Gallup survey paints a bleak picture for the veteran New York Democrat, showing that Schumer's approval rating has fallen to levels not seen at any point in his decades-long career. With just 28% of Americans approving of his job performance, Schumer now ranks at the bottom of a list of the nation's most prominent political figures, trailing presidents, congressional leaders, cabinet officials, and even figures typically shielded from partisan outrage. The numbers underscore a broader national mood of frustration, fatigue, and anger, not just toward Schumer himself, but towards Congress, both political parties, and the direction of the country as a whole. A record low in a long political career. At 75 years old, Chuck Schumer has spent nearly half a century in public office, first elected to the House of Representatives in 1980, before moving to the U.S. Senate in 1999. Over the years, he has built a reputation as a disciplined party strategist, a skilled legislative tactician, and a relentless political operator. Yet the Gallup poll, conducted among more than 1,100 adults nationwide in early December, suggests that Schumer's standing with the public has rarely, if ever, been this weak. Among the 13 major political figures evaluated in the survey, Schumer placed dead last. His 28% approval rating is not only low by historical standards, but also notable because it reflects dissatisfaction from inside his own party, not merely opposition from Republicans or independents. Gallup's analysis shows that Schumer's collapse in support among Democrats has been especially dramatic. Democrats turning away from their own leader. Perhaps the most striking element of the poll is not Schumer's overall rating, but how sharply Democratic voters have shifted away from him. Just 2 years ago, Schumer enjoyed solid backing from his base. In 2023, more than 3/4 of Democrats approved of his performance, while only a small minority expressed disapproval. Fast forward to today, and that internal support has nearly evaporated. According to Gallup, only 39% of Democrats now approve of Schumer's job performance. A majority, 56%, disapprove. This reversal represents one of the steepest drops in intra-party support for any congressional leader in recent memory. Political analysts say the decline reflects growing tension between establishment Democrats and a more aggressive populist wing of the party that believes Schumer has failed to extract meaningful concessions from Republicans and President Donald Trump during high-stakes negotiations, particularly during the record-breaking government shutdown. Shutdown fallout and progressive backlash. Schumer's declining popularity coincides with widespread dissatisfaction following the longest federal government shutdown in U.S. history. The shutdown disrupted services, rattled markets, strained household finances, and deepened voter cynicism towards Washington. Left-leaning Democrats have openly criticized Schumer for what they describe as ineffective leadership during negotiations to reopen the government. Some progressive activists argue that the Senate Minority Leader conceded too much while gaining too little, weakening the party's leverage and demoralizing its base. Calls for Schumer to step aside, once considered unthinkable, have grown louder in activist circles and left-wing media outlets. Critics say the moment demands confrontational leadership, while Schumer's incremental, deal-oriented style feels out of step with the current political climate. Trouble at home in New York. The warning signs are not limited to national polling. A recent Siena College survey of New York voters, a state where Democrats dominate statewide politics, showed Schumer with his lowest approval rating in more than 2 decades of polling. Even in deep blue New York, a majority of voters expressed an unfavorable view of the longtime senator. For a politician who has long relied on strong home state support as a political firewall, the Siena numbers are especially concerning. They suggest Schumer's struggles are not merely a function of national polarization, but also reflect dissatisfaction among constituents who have known him the longest. Comparing Schumer to other national leaders. Schumer's unpopularity becomes even more striking when compared to other figures in the Gallup survey, including those who are themselves deeply polarizing. President Donald Trump, for example, posted a 36% approval rating, placing him well above Schumer. Trump's support remains intensely partisan, with overwhelming approval among Republicans and minimal backing from Democrats, but his overall rating still surpasses the Senate minority leaders. Vice President J.D. Vance fared similarly, earning 39% approval, buoyed by strong Republican support despite near-universal opposition from Democrats. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, also a New York Democrat and Schumer's Brooklyn political ally, recorded a 37% approval rating, significantly higher than Schumer's. Jeffries' stronger standing among Democrats appears to be the key difference, with nearly 2/3 of party members approving of his leadership. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson received 35% approval. Senate Minority Leader John Thune registered 34%. Only 2 figures in the poll, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, exceeded the 40% mark, highlighting how broadly negative public sentiment has become towards national leadership. Congress as a whole, even worse numbers. Schumer's struggles cannot be viewed in isolation. The poll reveals a deep and widespread rejection of Congress itself. Just 17% of Americans approve of the Republican-led Congress overall, an astonishingly low figure that reflects bipartisan dissatisfaction.
Approval among Republicans was modest, while independents and Democrats expressed near total disapproval. Congressional Democrats fared only slightly better, earning 24% approval, while Republicans in Congress garnered 29%. The difference between the parties is less striking than the shared unpopularity they both face. One particularly revealing data point, while roughly 70% of Republicans approve of GOP lawmakers, fewer than half of Democrats say the same about their own party's representatives. Economic anxiety driving political anger. Gallup's analysis suggests that economic stress is the central force shaping voter attitudes. Inflation, rising living costs, and lingering uncertainty following the shutdown dominate public concern. Nearly 70% of Americans believe economic conditions are worsening, while fewer than one-third think the economy is improving. As a result, only 24% of Americans say they are satisfied with the direction of the country. 74% report dissatisfaction. These numbers are even more pessimistic than those recorded at the end of the Biden administration, indicating that voter confidence has continued to erode rather than stabilize. Gallup described the mood bluntly, noting that Americans are ending the year with bleak assessments of leadership, governance, and economic prospects. Polarization without confidence. One of the most notable themes of the survey is the combination of extreme polarization and low confidence. While partisan loyalty remains strong among Republicans backing Trump and Vance, and among Democrats supporting Jeffries, trust in institutions and leadership broadly remains fragile.
Schumer's predicament illustrates a unique vulnerability. He lacks the fierce loyalty that protects more polarizing figures. Unlike Trump, whose base remains unwavering, or rising Democrats who energize activists, Schumer finds himself squeezed between an angry opposition and a disappointed base. That position may prove politically dangerous as Democrats look ahead to midterm elections, leadership battles, and the future direction of the party. Schumer camp pushes back. Schumer's team has dismissed the poll's findings, arguing that numbers fluctuate during moments of political turmoil, and the Democrats closed the year with momentum. Campaign spokesman Angelo Rofaro said Democrats remain focused on issues voters care about most, including healthcare access and lowering everyday costs, priorities Schumer has long championed in the Senate. Supporters also note that Schumer has weathered political storms before and retains significant influence behind the scenes, particularly in shaping party strategy and judicial confirmations. What comes next? Whether Schumer's approval rating rebounds or continues to slide may depend less on polling cycles and more on tangible outcomes. If economic pressures ease, government stability returns, and Democrats reclaim a sense of direction, his numbers could recover. But if voter frustration deepens and internal party divisions widen, Schumer's leadership may face growing scrutiny not just from critics, but from within his own ranks. For now, the message from voters is unmistakable. Patience with Washington is wearing thin, and even the most experienced political figures are no longer immune from backlash.